my entire life has been about experience and experiential, which kind of brings together all the elements of art. And so for years and years and years, I've always been that person that would look at something and see something different, you know, whether it was, lightning strikes or, fish bubbling or whatever it may be, or even in the world of business, I would always find some different space. And just recently I read a book by Amy Whitaker called Art Thinking, which actually brought to light kind of my journey, which is really not necessarily always the outcome, but the unknown, the possibilities. So although I started off with a concept in business, I was a businessman in the world of marketing and built companies, and I knew what our value proposition was, but it was sort of, you start off with a concept and you lead to another concept, but when you go like in painting or creating art, you have this start. So I've always been really comfortable with the concept of the process. It wasn't necessarily like I'm going to finish this piece and I'm going to sell it for this much, or I'm going to, it was the process. And so my entire life has been part of that. And so art school, industrial designer, Cleveland Institute of Art, went to the West Coast, worked for a couple of design firms, and then continued to evolve that way. And over the last few years, have really found the passion of really focusing in on that process, but defining it as art. So left the commercial side and was fortunate enough to be able to fund my passions and move to the Cape, and we're here. And so I wake up every morning and I feel fortunate to be able to start my day with the environment around us. One of the things that really happened for me is, as through your life journey, you actually have the ups and the downs, and you have when people pass away. My mother passed away about 10 years ago. My father recently passed away a little over a year ago. And in between, lost some mentors and some friends along the way. And I used to say to myself, because people would say they're always with you. When people are gone, they're always with you. And I would say, well, okay, I get that, but how do I capture that every day? And so that actually inspired me to say, okay, I realized that time is of the essence and it's really important, but I wanted to capture those feelings. And so a lot of my paintings will have some symbolism in it. It'll have imagery that reminds me of a moment growing up on the beach when the sun goes down, or looking at the water and seeing motion and understanding that my dad loved the water and he was a fisherman, and my mother loved the full moon, that sort of stuff. And so that actually drives me, to a point where I well up. I'm going to well up here in a second because I get tingly. It just makes me so. I think it was the combination of, okay, so your whole life has been about this journey of creativity and problem solving and going to the next step, but not necessarily be focusing on that final outcome. It was more that process, that in combination of the experiences of losing people, and having been trained as a painter, it became very simple, very easy for me just to start. I think that's the biggest issue I found for myself, was how do I start? So through the combination of, I used to do oils, now I do acrylics, because I like things quick, so I don't like to have to go through the process of the oil, although I used to like that. Now I like the process of just setting up, having what I need, and then combining that also with digital. I actually will sketch in my iPad. So the excuse of not having the brush or not having the right color, you can't use that excuse. You got to, if you're going to do it, damn it, just go do it. Now I'm continuing down that path, and although I'm involved in projects which are still on the creative and on the enterprise side to help fund my art, that's kind of what that's all about. The other part of it too is, I got to tell you, when you create I'm not a songwriter. I imagine for a songwriter the same thing. But if you create something that's never been created before, first of all, art in essence, you're creating something that doesn't exist. So it's like whatever it may be. It could be a song, it could be a sculpture, it could be a painting, it could be a pie. It never existed. And so when you create something, and someone then takes a piece of that pie and they light up and they love it, it makes you feel good. It's like the painting. When you create a painting and someone says, I can see myself in that painting, or I can feel, or I can, you know, like a song, oh my God, it brings me back to a moment. That I get a lot of joy from. You'll see in my paintings there's a lot of different subject matters, and I think it goes to more of my ADD. It's sort of like I got all kinds of stuff going on, and my mind works like a cable TV. I click from this one, click from that one. I remember having dreams, and being able to go from one dream to the other dream, and it's just that's how my mind works. So my painting is a very similar. I have different styles, it's just because I'm kind of experimenting along the way and recognizing that it's never going to be the perfect painting. It's just, I think that's the hardest thing for me also, is like, when do you stop? You know, and I kind of realized there comes a moment where you don't ever, I've actually, some of my paintings, I've painted over, I thought it was done, I pull it back out, and I've actually painted over the canvas like probably 3 or 4 times. I mean, just gray them out, and because it's also they're not precious. You know what I mean? That's actually like eliminating all your emails on your computer. It's the same sort of feeling. It's like, I'm free. And if people don't like it, it's like, you know, it's okay, it's all right. You move on to the next. I'm an instant gratification kind of guy, so I want to be able to do things quickly. You know, I like the process, so I'll sketch, I'll paint, I'll sketch, I'll do, and then it's like I like being able to jump in. So you know, that's why the acrylics, and I use wax crayons, I use pastels, and as I mentioned before, I'll sketch on the iPad and kind of bring it together that way. It's our 35th wedding anniversary, and we were in this incredible environment, but it wasn't even the environment, because you couldn't see anything because the sun goes down. You could be anywhere, but it was the sounds, and you had to look really closely. And because when I look at, I don't see black, I see purples and violets. It's just, it's how my mind works. So even in the pitch of the night, I'm seeing like this array of color, and I just couldn't wait to get to the next hour to watch how it was going to evolve. But behind those paintings, as my wife was sleeping, it was the story of, you know, the animals crunching out there, and the elephants, and then boom, the sun comes up, and it's like, what? It's like, holy moly. And it was like, it made you realize that you know, the world is a big, big place, but what's definitely consistent are you know, colors and emotions and human beings, and there's good and evil, I get all that, but you know, as an artist, it's like, man, we're fortunate to be able to be able to see and feel and express. I think that was what the whole thing for me was. It was wild. It was great.